Greetings, humans. Welcome back for what is your final day of health class for the foreseeable future, right? After this lesson, it'll no longer be pre recorded, Scotty. You will get the honor and privilege of having me live, not quite in person, but live. All right, for some much needed PE. So let's just get into it. So we're going to finish up health. We're gonna wrap it up here at sort of this natural stopping point. I'm going to ask you to take an assessment at the end in the form of a Google quiz. It will cover two learning goals: Learning Goal 1.2, which deals with real life scenarios, and Learning Goal 1.4, which deals with understanding resources and how to get help. All right, so that sounds like a lot, but if you understand what we covered today, the quiz will be nice and straightforward. All right, so without further ado, I'm just going to jump into what we're doing today. All right, so as I said, the focus today is getting help. All right, we're going to learn how to determine when adults or professional help is needed to either prevent or intervene in a potentially violent, dangerous situation. In order to do that, we need to be able to summarize why it's important to tell an adult if there are people who are in danger of hurting themselves or others. It's also going to be important for us to be able to demonstrate how to effectively ask for and or offer the help to prevent violence. As always, we're going to start with a do now question. All right, I want you to tell me what you would do if you or a friend were in danger from a violent situation. Go. All right. So one of the key things here is understanding that violence or dangerous situations require help. As humans, we have some mechanisms that are sort of built in to sort of help us assess the situation and to help us sort of get through it. But we have to be able to sort of recognize the level of the threat and then act accordingly, right? A lot of times situations are escalated because we don't know how to get the help we need. So we do too much. And then oftentimes these situations become worse because we don't do enough, right? So we're going to go through this slide, and then I'm going to ask you to think about all four of these categories whenever you're encountering or someone you know is encountering a dangerous situation. The first thing, and probably the most important thing to do, is to decide what kind of help you need. So there are three types of help, which we will investigate a little further in the next slide. All right. But before you can think about what type you need, you have to come up with the first basic answer to what is the problem, right? That in and of itself is going to give you an idea of which of the three is the best option for you. So the three types of help are information, support, or immediate help, or protection, right? We generally refer to that as protection. All right. The second thing to think about is the type of resource you would go to for help, right? So now that we've sort of understanding what kind of help we need to think about where we can get information if that's what we need, or who can provide us with the support that we need if support is the option, or who can give us that protection, or where can we get that protection, right? Like that's the next thing if that's the step that we're at. All right. Third, we have to be able to ask for help. So this is super important. You need to be able to explain the problem as clearly as you can with details, right? Like don't say he or she, name names. Don't give estimated times, be specific, right? The more specific you are, the more likely the help you get is going to be enough to help you resolve the situation. All right. Also, be ready to answer questions about the problem. And if you don't get help from the first person you encounter, the first person you ask, you keep going, right? Never settle for no help. Never settle for help that's inefficient. Continue to push and to ask for more. All right. And then step 4 is to follow through on next steps. So with whatever resource that you've used, right, that help that you've gotten, you have to decide what to do next, right? You have to take the next step. Maybe that means removing yourself from the violent situation. Maybe it means getting authorities involved. Maybe it means counseling sessions to fix the issue between you and the other person or the other people. And again, once again, you do not stop taking action until you are safe, you feel protected. So I've mentioned already that there's different types of help, okay? Basically, they break down into 3 categories of information, support, and protection. Okay. So briefly, information is help that's needed when you are physically safe, but you feel that the situations you are unsure of may be dangerous or potentially violent, right? So you don't know enough to determine 100% if this is a threat or not, right? So information can come from a lot of different places. We'll look at that specifically. All right. But a simple example would be asking your friend if there would be drinking or drugs at the party, right? As we learned earlier in our unit, alcohol and drugs accelerate violence, right? So if you want to go to a party that you feel is like peaceful and cool, right? You don't want to have any threats of violence. One of the first things you can ask is, are people going to be drinking, right? Because that increases the chances that there'll be violence, right? Getting that information will help you make the correct assessment, which will help you determine whether or not there's a threat there. All right. Support. So this is the type of help that's needed, once again, if you're physically safe, but the dangerous situation causes negative feelings, thoughts. It's creating a lot of discomfort for you, okay? So it's not something that you can solve on your own, and that's why you need that help, all right? So an example would be you have a fear of facing consequences from a cyberbully at school, and it's starting to lead you to have panic attacks, right? So you decide to speak to a guidance counselor, right? That is an example of someone who is trained to support. All right, and then our final type of help that you would need to get is the most like severe level, right? So information will be level 1, support will be level 2. This is a level 3 threat or situation. All right, it's protection. This is the type of help that is needed when there is a strong threat of harm from violence, right? So an example here would be getting an order of protection against an abusive partner, right? So there is no talking this one out. There is definitely, you already have the information, the threat is very, very obvious. So you go to a form of authority to get protection, some kind of protection. In this case, it is legal protection. In other cases, you can go to authorities to help get you some actual physical protection. So it's easy to talk about these things in the abstract, but to really understand these in a real life situation, which again is going to be what you're quizzed on, I think it's important to practice some scenarios. So we're going to examine each of the following situations to determine what type of help is needed. All right, scenario 1. You overheard that one student has brought a knife to school and is planning to stab a friend of yours during lunch. What kind of help is needed? The answer here is obviously protection. Okay, this is an immediate physical threat to your friend or to anyone who gets involved with that student. All right, so this is the sort of situation where you seek out protection for that person, yourself, and everybody around you. Moving on. Example number 2. You think that your friend has been sexually harassed by another student. You are unsure what the exact definition of sexual harassment is, though, so you can't prove it. What kind of help is needed? At this point, it's information. Okay, your concern is extremely valid. All right, but physically, everyone is safe at the moment. In order to make sure that everyone stays safe and healthy, you need to research what exactly sexual harassment is before you can seek either support or protection, right? So information at that stage is the type of help that you need. All right. Scenario 3. You have recently been the victim of cyberbullying. The bullies have posted an embarrassing photo of you on the internet and refused to take it down. Your reputation at school is being destroyed. What kind of help is needed? The answer here is support. There is no immediate threat to you physically, but your mental and emotional health are being attacked. This is a good time to let a teacher, counselor, or school administrator know about the situation to get their support in ending it. Okay? These sort of situations rarely get resolved by just, I'm going to approach this myself, right? This is the sort of situation where the structures are put in place to help you, right? Those structures are your support, so you should use them. Okay? So we've done a real good job so far of looking at these practice scenarios, thinking about what is the best type of help to get. But each type of help requires different access to different levels of resources, different types of resources. So now we're going to look at the relationship between each type of help and the type of resource that supports it. All right, so for information, the resource you should use is any that increases your knowledge and helps you figure out how to be safe, right? So in the first example we ever looked at, we said you ask the person who's hosting the party. That person has control of the environment or the event that's happening. So they can give you information ahead of time, right? However, in situations where like it's a sexual harassment and we don't know if that's really what happened, right? This might be time to get information from an expert. And we can find experts using academic sources, Google Scholar, Google, if we know how to go through the resource document, which we did last lesson. We can ask an educated professional. Those are examples of those are examples of resources that can give us information. When it comes to support, the main resource for support is other people. Okay. Now, your best sources of support, again, are sort of structures that are put in place, we said, right? So sources of support are usually trusted adults, especially ones that have training to deal with emotional, social, or mental concerns. However, good friends your age can also be a form of support depending on what the situation is. All right. In the event of bullying or violence, especially at school, you would want to use your teachers as a resource. You would want to use a coach or school safety agent, anyone who is a friendly adult who always and consistently has your back would be somebody that you would want to use as a support system. All right. And the last type of resource comes in the form of protection. And protection is the extreme scenario, right? So protection from harm depends on the specific threat. But the important thing is recognizing that there is an actual physical danger and that you have to find help right away. Anyone who is trained to intervene and keep you safe is a good source of protection. Okay, so police or military officers, right? You go to the police if you need that order of restraint. You can also go to court to get an order of restraint. All right, these are institutions that are designed to protect you. All right, military officers perform a similar role. All right, school safety agents, especially in the school setting, are probably your best form of protection in the school setting. But you also have deans, and in some cases, you have teachers who have training to intervene on your behalf to keep you safe. All right. Okay, so we've gone through the resources. We've looked at the different types of help we need. We've looked at scenarios that have helped us determine how to ask for help, when we need help. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take a short quiz. And like I said, it's going to assess you on 2 different learning goals. So there are 5 scenarios with 2 questions each. So there are 10 questions total. Okay, your odd numbers are going to be for learning goal 1.2, which is real life scenarios. All right, the even numbers are going to be for learning goal 1.4, which are understanding how to use your resources to get help. Okay, and the way this works is there are 10 questions total, 5 of each learning goal. You get 1 free incorrect response. All right, after that, I'm going to score you based on what that is. So if you get all of them right, you get a 4. If you get 4 of them right, you get a 4. If you get 3 right, you get a 3. If you get 2 right, you get a 2. If you get 1 or none right, you get a 1, right? So nice and straightforward, right? If you get all of the evens and all of the odds, you're looking at 4s. If you get none of the evens or none of the odds, you're looking at a 1. And then everything else falls in between. All right? You guys are capable. You guys are competent. This is going to be nice and straightforward. All right, feel free to look back at this video. The questions are different, but the information covered here will help you understand how to answer those questions, right? So use all the resources you have. This is your last grade from me for the foreseeable future as far as 10th grade students. All right, it's been an honor teaching you health to this point. If we resume, I'm super excited to get back to that. But if school stays remote for the time being, then so be it. Let's go have some fun doing some physical movement stuff. All right, as I mentioned before, I miss all of you. And I'm really excited to be interacting on a live basis moving forward. All right. I will see you all, or whoever signed up for my class at least, starting Monday. Scotty out.